What's up, Utah? This is Trey on Culture Wars with We Are the People Network. And you can find us everywhere on wearethepeople.org. And if you want to check out the show, you scroll down, Culture Wars, give it a nice little click, and all the episodes will pop up also on YouTube. But today I'm super stoked. Like, the main goal of this show is getting people involved or learning about people that are involved that are part of like the younger generation. So I'm just looking at people that are millennials, young millennials and younger, and seeing what they're doing to actually make our communities a better place, our state of Utah, and then ultimately our country. So I'm super stoked to have Jesse on today. Jesse's dope because I think we had a kind of a similar experience in that we were both like working on campaigns. We saw how, what's the right word? I don't know, like ineffective.
Dysfunction.
Yeah, dysfunctional.
Lack of innovation.
Yeah, and we're just like, there has to be something else that's going to make this better. Jesse was on this way before I was. Like, when was the first campaign you were on?
The first campaign I was on in my entire life was very young. Chris Cannon, I think I was 10 years old. But then the first one that I ran myself was 2019, 2020 for Kurt Bramble for Utah Senate. And that was the first one that I ran the whole ground operation by myself.
So you've been in this forever, more than almost 2 decades about. Mm-hmm. And so this is nothing new. And what he saw was just the technology that was being used was super archaic. And so he's like, well, if no one's going to do this, then you decided to do it. And with me, I was looking into like all the different stuff to run campaigns, what would be good. And there's so many things that you can use, but you're like piecing together like a puzzle, all these different softwares from other companies. And then we met and I was like, dude, this is it. So thank you for what you're doing. But like, what got you inspired to even get into the politic game in the first place?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head of that. You get into a space, and we can always talk about like the business entrepreneurial side, but talking about the political side is you get into a space and you see dysfunction and you see things going the way you don't want it to go. And we can be like 99% of the other people that just sit there, call it out, send out a tweet and do nothing. It's kind of like with the football reference. You have like the armchair quarterback. People love to talk politics. Everyone knows what's going wrong. They know the solutions, but they don't do anything about it. And as you guys are doing here with the show, I think I sat there, I looked back and said, if I'm not going to do it, who's going to do it? And I think a thing that I always think about and I have on my desk is the Man in the Arena speech by Theodore Roosevelt, our president. And I think it's a space that is really fun. I enjoy being here, but it's hard and it's not fun. And if you go past that level of just talking politics casually, getting into it, it's hard. There's lots of people that don't like you. There's lots of tension, but it's a space that literally it's going to change our lives, change our children's lives, and we need to get younger and younger people involved.
No, it's so true. And it's actually what you're saying about like people coming at you when you like get involved. I've already started seeing that quite a bit, and it's really interesting because with me, I just want to know more about what people are thinking and understand their perspectives, because if there's one thing that I know is that I really don't know anything. And so if people have a different perspective, I love just asking them to explain it. But the wild thing is the ones that like come out and are like super attacking or super like hard set on their team are the ones that know the least. And I'm like, yeah, like that sounds great. Like if what I'm doing is so terrible, like please correct me. Please show me the error of my ways. And I'd love to learn more. And they always just shut down. You're like, okay, well, guess there's nothing there. Yeah. But that's what's been, I think, the most interesting and actually for me, like really motivating is there are so many people out there that are like stuck on a team that are like, oh, I'm so hard left, right, Republican, Democrat, whatever their jersey might be. And but they're not like set in stone with a lot of facts. And so what I think is really cool about the opportunity that we have now is by presenting the facts and bringing things to the table and helping people get in the know so they can just make their own decision. I think obviously people know that I'm like libertarian and like I definitely want small government and things like that. But my hope is that as people watch this, they're like, hey, it's okay that we're all different. It's okay that I have a different solution about how to solve a particular issue. But like now we can all have a seat at the table to start getting somewhere.
Yeah, 100%. And I think being involved in politics, I've come to that same conclusion that most people, I think, are good. There are bad actors out there. Most people are good, and we all have different life experiences. I think it's in the Stephen Covey book. He talks about paradigm shifts. We all come through life through the way we see it, and you can have the paradigm shifts at times. And I think just talking to people, you can see how their life experiences help them come to an issue. And I think even on like the most intense issues that divide our country, like an abortion or whatnot, where I have very strong opinions, I'm very pro-life. You can still talk to someone, see where they're coming from, and it can help you connect, even though you can adamantly oppose each other and come forward with good solutions. I think someone that's really good at that from the top down is Donald Trump. I think he took us out of that red versus blue. And if you're a Republican, you only have these views. But even within a party, that umbrella, we have hundreds of different views on different issues, hundreds of different priorities. And I think they're bringing that to the forefront, that it's not just this and you have to just rank and file, say what the leader says. You can have different opinions on all these different issues.
Well, it's been obvious that he's been able to bring together people to the table that are traditionally even Democrat. Well, he was a Democrat.
Yeah.
He was a Democrat. Then Elon Musk is on the team, Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard now is on the team. She's Democrat until like just barely. RFK, like the most Democrat family you could possibly be. And what's been interesting to see is like the working class. I feel like I didn't know this living in Utah. So I assumed like everyone would be like Republican all around. I was like, dude, that's weird that there's so many Democrats out there. It just doesn't make sense. But it just is when you're in a culture bubble and everyone like thinks the same, I think that just happens. But what's been so kind of wild is the working class used to be traditionally Democrat. And now it's like totally flipped. They just abandoned them for the lower class, which we can debate on if the Democrat Party's actually in it for poverty people, which if you look at the policies,
are they helping or are they enabling?
Yeah, hurting and enriching someone else, like a big company. But anyways, so the working class was just kind of like ostracized from the party, and it's interesting to see like that huge shift, like you're saying with Donald Trump or just the Republican or like this new anti-establishment movement that's like, hey, like we're in this for America. We're in this for small business owners and home ownership and people that just want to be free to go exercise their rights. And that's what gets me really excited, because although it seems like it's so separate, there really is the silent majority of people that just believe in America and freedom. And what's been nice to see is on social media how exposed some of the extreme left people are. And even going to your point with Stephen Covey is, as you look at those paradigm shifts, and like he talks about like the character ethic of, and what it is there's the personality ethic that just is like all for show, surface level, how to win friends and just manipulate them to like you. And I feel like that's been the political game forever. I don't know, but for as long as I can tell. And now you start having people with podcasts, which have been amazing, speak up and be like, no, the character, actually having morals and like being a person that people can trust and that have core values that are going to help us rise to the top and have a seat at the table has been amazing.
Yeah. I love how you bring up that kind of shift with the working class and kind of sort of the populism shift that Donald Trump has brought in. I was talking with my dad driving up here and looking at it from like the side of Vottiv, which is my company and political campaigns that I run, is this year and the last 2 cycles is the pollsters can never accurately predict and poll for Donald Trump voters because he's bringing in all these low propensity voters that don't turn out for all the other elections, but they'll come out for him. And I think a lot of it is that you're talking about is that lower class and even middle class people that feel forgotten by the Democrat Party. And even here within the state of Utah, where you can really see that shift is we have a young state representative, Tyler Clancy, Provo area. He's a police officer by trade and super conservative guy, but then he has groups like the Teamsters that love him and work with him, and he can come work with them from a conservative standpoint, and he's working with the biggest unions in the country, helping the working class people. So there really is that shift happening. You see it in J.D. Vance, our future vice president. I mean,
they're young people. This Tyler Clancy, I need to have him on. Sounds cool.
He'd be great.
Tell me more about him.
Tyler Clancy, he got elected to the House at 25, a special election. He was the youngest state legislator, I think, in the whole country at the time. And like I said, super conservative, down to earth. I think he really embodies what you're talking about with our younger generation of these leaders, that he's a conservative, but he's a pragmatic individual that he will go talk to anyone. He will go olive branch and work with any group. And I think comes out with a good conservative policy on it. But it just takes that first step of being willing to work with and talk with anyone.
That's really awesome. And he's still is he a Provo City police officer still?
Yep. Provo City police officer, chasing down bad guys at night and then leading the young conservative movement in the state.
That's awesome. Well, and that's what's really needed. And for those of you who are watching her, I don't know if there's a place for me. I don't know where to go. What's been really cool, I mean, it's demoralizing the fact, looking at the people who voted in this last election. Then the primary is mostly people over 60. Yeah. And then there's a huge gap. But people that are 20 to 30 are really starting to show up and are really starting to want to make a change. There's this new organization that's popped up. They did a Sunday devotional this last Sunday I went to, and it's called Heirs of Liberty. You should check them out. They had a turnout of about 100 people coming to listen to people who've left communist countries. So the first speaker, she left Cuba when she was 16, and then the other one left China and to exercise religious freedom as an adult. I think he was 20, 22. And it's just really cool to see such a huge and good turnout and a good reception for people that are just looking for something new. And the cool part was we were singing, what was the song? America the Beautiful. And we all started sitting down, and then by the end, everyone was standing up. It was a super powerful moment. And it's just super, I don't know, heartwarming to see that people do want to show up and make a difference. And as I get more involved, not to bash anyone that's older in this, but it does feel like a lot of these good changes are coming from people younger than 35, at least in Utah.
I totally believe it. And going back to that business side of politics is we get to look at the voter data, right? And we can see on these levels of who's voting, who votes, who doesn't vote. Young people, we do not vote, and it's horrible. And another big group, we work with a group called the Faith and Freedom Coalition. Their number one job is to get Christians out to vote across the country. And they just released a statistic that right now in America, there's 21 million Christians that aren't even registered to vote.
What percentage is that? So there's 350 million people in the U.S. What percentage? Is that something we could pull up real quick? How many Christians are there?
Yeah.
Do you know that?
I don't know off the top of my head, but when you start thinking about at a national election level, there's 21 million people and that aren't elected to vote. And there's huge issues rioting, religious liberty, things that most Christians believe in, like pro-life, that are on the ballot and they're not going to vote. And then in states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, some of these battleground states, that's going to be won by tens of thousands of votes. And you think that of a group like Christians or a group like young people, young conservatives, if you think it's lost cause or you don't care yet, you can make that difference.
Well, and I'd bet that like 21 million people is more than Utah and Idaho combined.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Did you have how many Christians there are in the U.S.?
Yeah, just a really quick look. It says about 68% of Americans identify as Christian.
yeah.
So 68% of 350 million. I'm not great at mathematics. Let's call that 200 million. So that's like 10%,
10%.
aren't even registered.
And then that's not even talking about how ones aren't even voting that are registered. But
That's what I was just about to say is I think there's like a statistic that only like 20 or 30% of Christians actually do vote. Yeah. And so if you put it in that perspective, that's like another 60 million people. Utah is like what, 10 million people in it?
3.5, 4.
That's it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like 4 states worth of people that don't vote.
Yeah. And like another big group that doesn't vote a lot is gun owners.
It's crazy.
I mean, you start thinking about these issues that really matter to you at the federal, state, and local level. You are letting other people decide your future by not getting involved. And I think bare minimum, you need to vote. And then past that, you need to get more involved. You need to vet candidates, help campaigns that stand for your values and really help decide your future. I think like the origin story I always tell that got me involved in politics was I was a 12-year-old kid here in the state of Utah. At the time, big game hunters, you can only hunt big game in Utah at the age of 14. And I found out that Representative Kurt Oda at the time, great legislator, was running a bill to change it to 12 years old. So at that time, I went up to the legislature and I testified in front of the House and Senate committees. The bill passed, and then Governor Huntsman at the time invited me to the signing, gave me the copy of the bill, the original copy that he signed. And after that point, one or two things it did for me was, one, it made me love the process, love the politics. And two, it made me show like how you really can make a difference. For me at the time, being able to go chase deer and hunt, that was huge for me. And I could go make a real change in our state that helped affect thousands of people. So whatever those issues are to you, you can get involved and you can make a difference. And I think this, if young people know that, and we can get the young conservatives to get out and start fighting for what they believe in, that we can really do good things quick.
Well, especially at the state level, like there's like what 200,000 people that voted. Most of them were like over 60, and so it's like if you get out and vote in a primary, like your ballot really does matter. And there's a lot of things that are going on right now with like election integrity and things like that. If that's important, you're like concerned about, like if people are concerned about their votes not counting, or they think that the system's like super flawed, then that's what they should go out and vote for even more and be more involved and let their voice, because that's what I hear the most is, oh, why didn't you vote? It doesn't matter. Like it's rigged anyways. So it may be and it may not be. But if you do think it's rigged, then why not fix it? Like, why not make this really like what America was meant to be? And I can understand where they're coming from. As you watch clips from the debate, especially what's put on social media, it's super disheartening just to see that our own government is so willing to just gaslight us and lie. Like Kamala told like blatant lies. Like the one that got me like, is no one going to say anything about this? When she was like, there's not one service member in any active war zone anywhere in the world. I'm like, that is the easiest thing to like see that that's false. Like,
yeah, so bad. I actually saw a funny clip on Instagram that they show that clip, and then these soldiers stitched in, and he like turns it on themselves, and they're in this like crappy little bunker. He's like, well, what the hell are we doing then? And there's a group of them, some active zone out there, you know, in harm's way.
Well, and that's just, one, it's disrespectful. Two, it just is, I mean, it's disrespectful to the service members, to all of them that are actually still out there doing things. It's disrespectful to the American people who are looking for a new potential leader, and you're just blatantly, just like a bold-faced lying to them. And what's been even wilder is seeing CNN come out and be like, they're only admitting to like 7 lies she told, but I think the total is like 25 or 27, depending on what you count as a lie or like a stretch of the truth. And she's still doing well. Like, people aren't necessarily outraged unless they are leaning conservative. And when people like talk about how that's our best option, I'm like, you really want someone who's just going to go in and lie to you?
I know. And then, I mean, you look at the flip side of it, and Trump was getting falsely fact-checked in real time on things like the Kamala not supporting transitioning illegal immigrants in the camps, when they then came out with the videos and the questionnaire she filled out saying the exact opposite. So they won't call her out, and then in real time, he's getting falsely called out. I mean, and I think we can all see it, and I don't know what people are thinking on those when they see that happening.
Well, that's what I'd hope. I'd hope people could at least notice and be like, oh, there's something like weird here. Like, there are videos of Venezuelans eating people's pets, and it's a crazy thing. And it's like maybe an easy thing to make, because all they're trying to do there is make Trump seem like crazy and pin him into like this crazy town aisle. But there really are videos of like someone cooking a chihuahua over a fire, and like, there's literally videos of this that are clearly aren't like AI doctored videos, which that's a scary thing, is they'll start telling these lies, and then everyone's going to start making these AI images and videos to back up whatever lie they're telling.
I know. The AI piece of it is crazy, how good it's all getting. And just to touch on the issue of this town with all that was just flooded by the immigrants, I think they're good. The Democrats are really good at flipping these issues. Like Trump, he always goes to like the most extreme example, but what he's hitting on the head is a town of 40,000, 60,000 people shouldn't get an influx of 20,000 people that's going to fundamentally change the makeup of their area. I mean, I think you can go on the street and you would ask any American and they will say, I am for legal immigration. I am for people coming here, wanting a better life, assimilating into society, and being a productive American. Everyone's for that. But what we're against and what he's pointing out is that they're not coming in, they're not assimilating, they are not being productive members, they're not learning to know. I mean, maybe it's not at their fault either, that they're not doing the things that it means to be American. And they can just flip that on its head, make funny videos about him talking about dogs or cats getting eaten, and then the general public, that's all they see, and they just write it off.
Exactly. Well, it's wild. I was watching on the Sean Ryan show. Tulsi Gabbard was on there this week, and she went down to the border and was interviewing people. And we need to piece this in. I can't forget to do this because this it's wild. She's like interviewing people, and this guy from Colombia is saying how he told her that he's coming to Utah, crossing the border illegally, just a random guy coming to Utah for some American girl. And it's like,
talked to this one guy who came from Colombia, and he said, oh, I flew into Tijuana and then walked across. Took me, I don't know, a couple hours. And I asked him, like, have you been here before? Oh, yeah, I've been here before. Interesting. He had no issue talking, by the way. He was very relaxed. And I said, oh, where are you headed? So I'm going to Utah. I said, really? What's in Utah? He's like, oh, I got a woman there.
People don't think it's happening here, but this is the 4th most welcoming state to illegals. And so before we know it, if we don't do something at the state level, like it has happened already. There's already been crime. There's one that was just like a couple weeks ago or last week in like West Jordan. There's stuff already happening, but it's going to get way, way, way worse. So what happens is, for those of you who don't know, is people decide they want to come to the U.S. So, for example, this guy flew from Colombia to Tijuana that day. So it's like I've made the flight from Florida to Colombia. It's like, I think it's like 4 to 6 hours. Mm-hmm. So to Tijuana, it's probably like 4-hour flight. gets off Tijuana, walks across the border. He said that was like 2 hours. So within like 6 to 8 hours, he's in the U.S., sitting down, eating his snacks, literally just a snack bag. Border Patrol comes and picks him up, processes him for like 3 hours. So this is like a kind of a long work day, maybe 12 hours. And at the end of the 12 hours, they're like, okay, where do you want to go? And he says, Utah. And they're like, okay, cool. Here's your ticket to Salt Lake City, Utah International Airport. Here's your $3,000. And then here's this smartphone for you as well. Cool. Well,
That's wild.
good luck. They don't even know. There's no like checking their ID is actually accurate. There's no like, they're giving them free stuff and sending them to our communities.
Yeah. And we're seeing this across the country. We see it here in Utah. We see it elsewhere. I mean, every state is a border state now. They say that. It's not just a slogan. It's true with how easy it is to travel on. Like you gave that example. It's wild. Someone could get here that quick. But it's every single state. And I think we went through this in about 2010, 2012. We tried to go through stricter immigration laws, and then it was all lost for some reason. And at that point, after that, it came out of the state of Utah, like how they could get driver's licenses and all these different things. So we are, like you said, we are an attractive state to come to. For that reason, we're very friendly. We're very giving by nature. And I don't think it's unfriendly or wrong to believe in legal immigration. And I think we need to get that into our state.
Well, that's the flip side. That's like messed up is you have people that are trying to come here legally. They're spending thousands of dollars and years and years going through the process to just be here legally. And they get no benefits whatsoever. It's extremely hard, extremely difficult, and very, very expensive. So the whole incentive package is what I'll call it, because it is an incentive package, is to come illegally, get free money, get everything, not pay taxes, not pay anything. And if you do try to do it legally, then you're getting punished by paying tons and thousands of dollars. That's where I think the whole thing is just like flipped on its head. Is like, I'm super pro people coming to America and making their lives better. That's what the fabric of the Americas that we all like, that's what we're here for. Like, that's what makes us so great. But when they've like, I really feel like is they're calling like bad good. So like, it's good to be illegal, bad to be legal. Like, that's pretty much what the government's currently saying. So one, I think the illegal immigration is a massive problem, not just, it's a huge security risk, but the legal immigration, I feel like, is another kind of separate thing that needs to be attacked, that people can actually get here legally, but we're also bringing in people that are like vetted and good people, whether they're going to be working as construction workers or doctors. We still need those people, but bring them in the right ways and giving them an actual path to success.
I totally believe that. And I think you talked about that issue. I think it goes to a more broad issue of what does it mean to be an American? When people want to come here, do they want to come here to be an American, or are they just coming here to work and steal jobs and steal stuff from Americans? Like, you look at a country in Europe like England, like to be an Englishman is an ancestral thing, thousands of years, right? That's their homeland. But to be an American, it's an ideal. It's a way of life that people from all corners of the earth have come to, and we join together in this common idea of, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, some of these basic things, a nation found under God. And I think we need to rediscover that. And when we're get our immigration down and we have people coming in, I think they need to come in and agree to these things and want to assimilate into society and be an American, not just come here because they can make more money or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, and really, as I've known a lot of these people, it seems like they're all searching to live the American dream. I mean, obviously we're like a melting pot of so many different countries. So they all want to come and start their own restaurant. That's their own type of food from wherever they're from or whatever it might be, which I think is great. But really, as I was listening to these people on Sunday, was they're looking for like the freedom to exercise whatever rights that they couldn't in the country that they were in. For example, like in Cuba, they couldn't literally do anything. She talked a lot about how her family was farmers and they had cows. Well, they didn't have cows. The government had cows and plants and all this stuff that they had, but they couldn't even like milk the cow and sell it. They couldn't like kill the cow because the government owned the cow. So they couldn't get meat from it or anything. When there was like, yeah, they couldn't like sell anything without the government actually doing it for them. And then when they'd go to the grocery store, there's like 7 items on the shelf, which it's like a piece of wood nailed to like the wall. That's like this, just like wood with like 5 things on it. And like the government could be like, yeah, you can take this, but you can't take that. And there's like a book that tracks what people are on taking. And it's just like, as these people come, even from freer countries, like just any other country in South America, like they all just see a better form of life. And so obviously it's super attractive, like you're saying, for people to escape whatever they're in just to come to America because there's so much opportunity. But if we could vet these people out and just see like, hey, are you a criminal? Yes or no? Yes. Right now what we're saying is, yes, you are a criminal. Come right in.
Countries that tell
Please.
us, give us the records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please come in. If you're a criminal, please. That's what we're literally saying right now. We're encouraging people to break the law and come here illegally. So in my mind, if you're coming in illegally, inherently, that's criminal. But it goes much further than that because a lot of these people coming in have just committed all sorts of crimes, not just in their own countries, but even here in the U.S. Like there was a story Art Del Cueto was telling that there's a guy who's crossing the border and he like looked into him, figured out who he was, and was like, whoa, you've committed like all sorts of crimes. You were actually supposed to be in prison here in the U.S. And he was like, yeah, but I fled. I skipped the country I left, and then the case was dropped. So now I can come back in. You have to let me in. And he's like, there's no way. Goes and makes some phone calls. He's like, yep, okay, where do you want to go? Here's your thousands of dollars and your free phone. Send him anywhere. I don't know where he went. He could be like here in Orem, Provo, Draper, you don't know. Like they sent this guy who should have been literally in prison, who ran away to Mexico, waited for the charges to be dropped, and then just came right back.
Yeah, that's crazy. One thing I thought of when you were telling the example of one of these people escaped communism and they go to the grocery store and there would be 6 or 7 items, it made me think, kind of rounding it back just to like us young people being involved and caring for our future, is right now we're at a state where we don't have that, but when we go to the grocery store, it's costing double, triple what it used to cost. You go to the grocery store, you think, oh, you look at your car, you're like, that's only $100. It's like $250. So we're at the state with the high inflation where like, I think most of us go to the grocery store and you leave and you're not happy. And it's one of those things, you hear these stories about someone in this communist country where there's nothing in the grocery stores. And I think that's so far from where we're at, that could never happen. But you also see that we're on those first steps of high inflation, all these common goods costing tons of money. And then you hear someone like a Kamala Harris, a major party presidential candidate, start to bring up things like price control and things that lead to the grocery store being empty. And just brings us back to that reason, like you have to be involved. Like you can look at it now and go, that would never happen. But we are on the path for stuff like that to happen.
That's why people from Brazil and Venezuela are literally like, hey, this is how it happened. So like what people don't understand is this is how it starts. You have the Anti-Inflation Reduction Act that literally increases inflation. So they lie to you with just the title of the whole act. And then things get really expensive. They insert price controls. While at the same time, people may not notice this, is another reason things are expensive is they start regulating the ranchers, the farmers, where everything's going. So it becomes extremely hard to make any money at all farming or ranching. Then the prices have to go up. People can't afford it. Businesses start going under. They start controlling the prices. Okay, that puts more businesses out. What happens to those farms and ranches when they go under? Who buys them? The government does. The government or the major companies running the government. And So they buy up all the land. Then they're like, hey, you know what? Everyone should have homes, even illegals. We're going to give illegals a $25,000 credit so they can get into their first home. And then just to cover that and to make sure everyone's paying their share, we're going to do an unrealized capital gains tax, just taxing the rich. It's okay. We're just taxing all the rich, people making $100 million or more. Well, pretty soon those people are going to be dwindling. They'll be like, okay, everyone making $10 million or more, everyone making $1 million or more, everyone making $100,000. And it just trickles down until your house you had was worth $300,000 because of inflation. Now it's worth $1 million. Now you have to pay 25% of that increase. So with that 300,000 to 1 million, that's 700K. 25% of 700K is like what? 350. It's like 175K. So good luck. For you to stay in your house, you have to come up with $175,000 that year. This is a real extreme example, but you have to come up with a lot of money in order to stay for your house, apart from your mortgage, and then you have to sell your house, right? Because you can't live there anymore. Mm-hmm. And so if you've lived there less than 2 years, then you have to pay capital gains on it instead of doing the 25%, which is they're trying to increase to 44%. So before you know it, you're out of your house. You can't afford to rent. The government owns everything. The grocery stores have 7 things on the shelves, and we're all living in poverty. And then the rich people that could have escaped somewhere else already did. And that's the end. Late. Yeah, that's too late. And so the thing that's concerning is there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, we need price controls because it sounds like a raw, let the government help us so we can afford things. Mm-hmm. While at the same time, they're like, hey, we're going to fix everything that's wrong with our country right now. Well, it's like, hey, well, over the last 3.5 years, you literally just did this. And you're in the office currently right now with a guy who's probably, like Trump said, asleep till 4 p.m. You could crawl, get him out of bed to sign whatever, and actually be fixing the problem now, but they're not. But the positive side of it is there are people waking up and realizing that something needs to be done.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to, and a thing that I always think personally in my life and what we need to see as a community and as a people is, like, first off, you brought up the Green New Deal or things like, down payments for houses or whatnot, but nothing is for free. Nothing in life is free. If it is free, it's under a guise and it's going to come back and get you some other way. And then 2, looking at all these issues like you brought up, going through that, is no one's coming to save us. You have to save yourself. And I think that's the thing in normal life, in your personally, what you do, how you conduct yourself. If you can get that in your head, I think you'll be successful. And then second, which seems harder for us, is we need to do that politically about our government, running ourselves, we the people. No one's going to save us. Anything that looks like it's a savior, anything that's a guise that, oh, we're going to relieve all of your student loans, whatever it may be. Like me and my wife, we have student loans. I don't think anyone's ever going to save me from it. I agreed to pay that. I'm going to pay them back. And I think in every issue that we're facing, we need to accept that fact, face it, say, no one's saving us. Nothing's for free. How are we going to solve it?
Well, and that's the thing people don't understand is everything the government has and does comes from you. Like those people don't know this. They should know it, but they really should know how much money some of these government people are making. Like even in Utah, so Spencer Cox has his group of, I don't know what you'd call them, minions. I don't know, whatever. The one who makes like the least amount of money, there's like this board of people. One makes like $230K or $80K. And there's people that make all the way up to $700,000 on taxpayer dollars, like taxpayers. So they're literally making like in the top 1% of Americans working for our current governor of just Utah. So if that's happening at the Utah level, that's like one of them making close to $1 million. What's happening at the federal level? Where are the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars going to just someone on some board doing something that just is like, no one knows what they do. They're making regulations. They're lining their own pockets with different policies that can just bring more revenue to them personally. Because people think like the government just really sucks at running things. I've taken on a lot worse mentality or much more sinister thought process on it. I don't think the people in government are dumb. I think a lot of them are really, really, really smart. Their incentive just isn't to help the American people. Their incentive is just to help themselves. And so they've become really, 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 really good at marketing and making things seem like they're going to be in people's best interests, while at the same time, they're just making more and more money. And people are going to be like, Trey, it sounds like a conspiracy theorist. Like you sound like you should have a tinfoil hat on. Maybe. But I think there's a lot of things coming to light that if people just maybe don't use Google, you can try using Google still, but using a search engine that isn't like super regulated, try Google though, whatever, and just type in some of these things, they'll be shocked to see like, and that's what's been so shocking to me.
Well, yeah. And I don't think it's conspiracy, but let's say someone does think that's a conspiracy. What you cannot dispute is not conspiracy is go start a business. Go see how many taxes you have to pay. And then when you first pay those taxes, and then go see how much you're getting taxed, like in Utah on a gas tax, how much you're getting taxed for food, everywhere else. And it starts to add up. And that's no conspiracy of that. You're probably giving over half of your money you make or more by the end to taxes, one way or other. You know, if you're a business owner, you're getting taxed 35, 40%. Then you start adding all the after taxes on everything at the pump, at the grocery store, at the restaurant, everywhere, all the goods. You're paying over half your money, and that's no conspiracy. And I think that's one part that young people don't get involved with, and that's why you see older people start to get involved is, you know, we go through college, we don't make any money. If you're in college and you're married, you know, you get a good tax break, and you go, this is great. And then you graduate out of that, you leave your 20s, get into your 30s, start making more money, and then you see your money getting taken, you know, half your paycheck by the end of the day, going back to taxes. And then you go, wow, I don't want to pay for some bloated government bureaucrat's salary. I don't want to pay for that. And I think it's been really funny. I've seen my wife kind of become a tax hawk overnight in the last couple of years starting a business, and, you know, get to the end of the year, have a big tax bill or whatnot. And she's really getting red-pilled on that issue.
Well, these are like, we know this because we do own businesses. And like in my own personal experience, like my main business isn't even profitable yet. And so like the government, with me paying taxes, the government's literally making way more money off my business than I've made. So I haven't really made any money from it. And they're literally making thousands and thousands of dollars
So bad.
like a month. And so that's the wild thing is the number one employee, the highest paid employee, at least in my business, is the government. And so I don't know. I think to your point, young kids don't realize it. And maybe people that are starting to get out of it, like the millennials are like, I mean, millennials are like out of it. Like how old's the youngest millennial? Like 28.
28, yeah.
And they're like looking for someone to save them. They're like, this is too much. I just left college. I need someone that's going to, like, I can't do this now. Government, tell me what I can do. I don't know what I can do. Please tell me. And then they get older, and then it's like the greatest generation's now about to expire. And so I think that's where we definitely need some new voices like you who can really help people lead the forefront of like, there is change and it can be done. We can pay less taxes. We can take back control of the place that we love so much. Real quick here as we wrap up, I'd love for you just to give a little plug on Vottiv and everything that you guys do, because it is literally incredible. Like I saw the software and I didn't even know what to say most of the time. I was just sitting there and I was like, because I came in like me, I'm like, my brain's going a million miles an hour, and I've like have it listed out everything that I like. Okay, this is what we need. These are the most important things for running elections. I mean, for running a campaign. So this is what everything we needs to look like. Okay, cool. Sit down, and then he showed me what he's doing, and I'm like, dang, dude, you're like 5 years ahead of me.
No, thank you for that. What Vottiv does, in short, it's a political campaign software, and we bring all the tools you need to run for office into one place. So we got all the voter data to help a candidate run for office. And the cool story on that is that we are RNC, a Republican National Committee approved partner, and I believe we're about one of 4 in the country. So we got that really fast, which was super surprising and big help, because then that kind of brings the might in from the Republican Party nationally of their voter data, which costs hundreds of millions of dollars to build and maintain. We can now use that for any conservative, Republican, right of center candidates, so they just get that data. It's included. And then with that, kind of we're talking about all the bloating and inefficiencies of government, is we make political campaigns more efficient. We make it so you can target voters and get down to that target group of who you want to talk to in general, or maybe drill down on a certain issue or a certain demographic. And then with Vottiv, you can then go door-to-door canvassing and get it all tracked. You can text them, you can call, you can send mail, do digital ads, and it's all connected. So then any data you're bringing in, you're able to then more efficiently follow up or get the needs of people, hear what they concerns them, and you're able to follow up and show why you'd be the best candidate for certain issues. So we're really trying to make political campaigns more efficient. I believe we're saving them a lot of money too, because you see the dollar signs that are getting sent around on election years. You know, billions and billions of dollars are being spent, and most of it's just people lining their pockets. And we saw this inefficiency, and we wanted to fix that. And then the other piece that really got me excited and really keeps me going is everyone focuses on, you know, the president, U.S. Senate, Congress, maybe governor's race, and that's about it for the lay person. For the average American, those are the only races that they know about. Some, maybe not even that many. And what people don't know is there are about 500,000 locally elected positions across the United States. And most tax dollars are spent at the local level. Most decisions that affect your life are at the local level, and no one cares. So what we're really trying to do is build up a product that we can get to good leaders, good conservatives, love helping the young people in all these smaller, low information races, get them the resources that I believe not only helps them win an election, it also, I think, is helping inform more people, because we're reaching more people to try and get them involved at that local level, which I think is paramount. And I'll stand on that stump and preach all day.
No, I love that. So that's why I hope people are listening, is like Tyler Clancy doesn't have to be the only one. Mm-hmm. Like if you're in your young 20s or 30s or whatever, and you want to get out and make a difference, what Jesse and Vottiv are doing is making that accessible. Like they're making it affordable. They're making it so you have one of the best teams you could possibly have at your fingertips. So that way the excuses of like, I don't have money, I don't know what to do, but I really want to get in the fight, you definitely can do it. So like, I just want to tell anyone, if they have any questions, they can reach out to me on my social media. What's a good place to get to contact you?
Yeah, we're on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Instagram.
What's your handles?
I believe it's Vottiv_political is the underscore on Instagram. And then if you just search Vottiv on LinkedIn, you'd find us. Twitter, Facebook, same thing.
The World Wide Web. Yeah,
Vottiv is how you spell Vottiv. And like he said, you don't need a lot of money, especially these local races. The dirty secret is you can win on almost no money if you're willing to do the work. And when I say the work, most people hear them, they go, oh, never mind. Is really just talking to people. If you can get a canvassing app and know who Republican voters are in your race, who actually vote, and you go talk to them at their door and they meet you, if you work harder than the other guy, you will win. 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, you'll win. And it really doesn't take that much money. It takes someone that cares and is willing to do the hard work, and you can get in and then do good work for the people.
No, that's what I just love about what you guys are doing. So, yeah, if you're thinking about getting involved, reach out to Vottiv, reach out to me. I'll point you in the right direction to happiness and joy and to saving our country. But, yeah, Jesse, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here. It was awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And we'll catch you next week, Thursday. Be ready. Thank you.